get things started. Cause we ain't got no time to waste, I don't mind.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, be sure to subscribe and help my my buddy Vader out. He is trying to bring his channel subs up, so I'm trying to help him out with some Nikke content as he covers other stuff. We're gonna be doing a Nikke tier list that I made because all the other tier lists are good. It's just I just wasn't really clicking with them, so I made in my own tier list to make it a bit better for my personal opinion and my personal playtesting compared to the other tier list. So here's my tier list. I went and made it for you guys. That way you can kind of get a grasp for where I'm at. We're gonna go ahead and break down, I think, the units that might need to be talked about, and we'll probably go all the way up to B tier, and then C, D, and F speak for themselves, right? So let's go ahead and talk about it. We have Scarlet, Modernia, and Litter in the SS tier. Litter is the best burst one in the game, which is why she's up here. It's just, it is what it is. You got a lolly that just pops off, I guess. I would prefer other, burst one unit personally, but it is what it is. You have Scarlet and Modernia. I don't really want to argue one over the other. I think they're both very equal in how good they are. I feel like Modernia can look impressive against certain, setups. Like, for example, the Nalister boss is pretty hard to beat, and I feel like Modernia might be slightly better there than Scarlet. However, Scarlet is no slouch himself. It's just her and Modernia versus the world when it comes to everything else. Like, you have Modernia, Scarlet at the top when it comes to just overall damage and just being a burstery, and then everyone follows in line after them. Whichever one you like more, you can pick. I use both of them. I own both of them, and I don't know. I go back and forth on them all the time because I'm like, oh damn, Modernia can do this, but Scarlet can do this and just more damage, and it's just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I feel like Modernia earlier on is going to be just way more easy for you to just abuse because her burst is just a circle that just sprays everything. But at the same time, Scarlet does so much damage with her swords and has an AoE burst that kind of kills everything, right? So whichever one you like more, you can say is number one. But for me, they're tied. It's just that simple. Let's go to S tier. Senti, Privity, Noise, Rapunzel, Snow White, Guilty, Dala, Pepper, Maxwell, Rupee, Helm, Alice, Drake, Sugar, D, and Aaron. These are all my opinion, of course. We can talk about them one by one. When it comes to later in the game, there's something that you should recognize, and I feel like people don't talk about enough, is that damage is king over survivability. What I mean by that is, like, Senti may be the best burst unit in the game, but if you want more damage, you're going to be using Dala over Senti, because Dala is going to provide you more damage overall to your team. Senti is better, technically, when it comes to survivability and the shields, but if you just want to put out more damage, you're taking Dala over Senti. I think both of these units are pretty equal when it comes to value. I don't want to say Senti is over Dala, because I feel like everyone says that, and yet I don't really know if I believe it myself. I use Dala everywhere. I use Dala everywhere because she's just more. She just makes her damage go up. Like, damage is king. At the end of the day, damage is king. If you need to get something or past a mission later on, it's going to be less about survivability and more about your damage. That is why I'm putting Dala in the same tier as Senti. It's just I can't really fully agree or disagree with who's better. I think it's going to be coming down to if you have litter. If you have litter in your burst one, you can get away with Senti. If you do not have litter in your burst one, you cannot get away with Senti. I feel like the cool thing with Dala is that you can use Dala and Noise and have sustainability and still damage on your team. Or you can go litter and Dala and just have maximum damage output, right? So it's just kind of back and forth. I don't know. Like, I do think Senti might be better overall, but later on, I do think Dala will take. I feel like eventually we'll get to the agreement, or everyone in the community will agree that Dala is just eventually better than Senti because of the damage that she's providing to your team, right? I think that's what it comes down to. It's Privity. Privity is literally like a unit that I want to put in double S, because if you don't have Scarlet or Modernia, the next best option for just overall damage is Privity. It would be those two at the top, and then the next one would just be Privity and Snow White. It's just those two. I think Privity is probably slightly better in Snow White when it comes to overall teaming, but if you do the Snow White build of Maxwell, you put I try to remember the team. It's Snow White, Maxwell, Alice, Polly, and Miranda, I think. that team is like a nuke team built around making Snow White just kill everything. But if you just slap Snow White anywhere and you want to slap her onto any team, I do think Privy is just a better pick overall for most other teams. Unless you're building the Snow White restrictive team that is just built around Snow White to kill everything, right? So I think Privy is the next in line when it comes to the tier list, followed by obviously Snow White. Snow White's so good. But we have Noise and Rapunzel here. I think both these units are great for sustainability. Once again, I do think damage is king, but there are going to be some situations where healing can definitely help you if you have enough damage against the later bosses. There's going to be, I think, the Chapter 16 boss. The way I beat it is I used Noise, Dala, Scarlet, Modernia, and Prithee, and I just powered through it with sustainability from Noise, right? I didn't actually use Litter there. Litter could have helped and did definitely do more damage or keep my damage up, but I was lacking that extra survivability, so I locked in Noise instead for the big burst heal. The thing to take away, though, is Noise has got one flaw weakness, which I think is quite noticeable once you start using her. Her burst cooldown is a lot longer than, you know, the rest of the good ones. You're going to have to wait about 18 seconds after you do your burst fill up to probably even use it again. For me, it was consistently 18 seconds I had to wait just for her to come off cooldown, where with Litter, it's just kind of instant. But you're trading off extra damage and more burst for that survivability. Like Noise gives you so much lifesteal and just heals you. It's just so good. That's why I think you could technically use Senti there in that place, but you could go like Litter Senti in a lot of situations, but Senti's not healing you, right? She's not giving you that heal. That heal is really ridiculous. Rapunzel can revive a dead unit, so I think that's why she's so good. I don't have her, but I assume because she's able to revive, that's why everyone loves her, which is why I think it would be very helpful. If I had her or access to her, I'm sure she would just be so good for just, you know, reviving one of my damage dealers, right? That sounds so powerful on paper. Already talked about Snow White. Great damage dealer. If you build a team around her. Once again, it's like Snow White's your damage dealer. You bring Maxwell, you can bring Alice, you can bring Polly, and I think Miranda, and that team will actually just destroy everything because the charge from her burst. Guilty's a great burst 2 units that's good against Gravedigger, and just being on the shotgun team in general. I think the shotgun team, if I remember right, is going to be like Sugar Drake, Polly, and I think you put Guilty on, and then your burst one is Litter. I don't think the burst one matters. I think you just load Litter on the team, and it's something like that. You just go Litter, Guilty, Sugar Drake, and then I guess Polly or whatever, and you have a shotgun team ready to go, right? I already talked a lot about Dala. I gave my opinion on her. She gives you cooldown and a lot of extra damage on the field. I guess Pepper is also a part of the shotgun team for burst 2. She gives you healing. Maxwell is great on the Snow White team for charge damage. Rupee's a pretty decent burst 2 overall. I think she's pretty solid if you don't have Dala or Senti. I think Rupee's a great third pick. Helm is overall a very solid option for, you know, just an overall solid option for if you're needing a burst 3 charge sniper. You could technically replace, I don't know, let's say in theory you have Snow White and you don't have Maxwell. I guess in theory you could just run Helm in that slot. She kind of fills in the gap if you need an extra solid burst 3 unit. She does have a pretty solid sniper and setup with her design, so she's just overall pretty good on a lot of teams. Alice, really good on the charge up. She's a charge up support, so I think she's really good. She comes with a sniper, very good. Gets better with dupes. Drake, Sugar, very good on the shotgun team. Okay, let's talk about D. I've been using D a lot lately, and I think I have a pretty good grasp of where I think she places. So if we go to the top of the chain, right, you have Scarlet, Modernia, followed by Privy, Snow White, followed by like Maxwell and Helm or whatever else, what other damage dealers you want to put there. I feel like D's on that line where she's got enough in her kit and enough utility overall in that kit to meet that line where she can compete with a lot of these other damage dealers on your team, especially against iron enemies. She ruins iron enemies. Also, on top of that, whenever you do have your burst on cooldown and you're filling up that bar, whenever the target boss comes in, she instantly gets your gauge right away. Therefore, you can just do a lot more damage fast. Really good lifesteal, natural lifesteal too. Stun immunity, which can be very helpful in certain situations where if you get stunned or whatever, you just have to sit there for like 7 seconds and do nothing, she's going to make you immune to stuns. So overall, I think her utility plus her damage plus her niche into like iron units just places her up really high, because whenever we get new iron enemies in the future, Dee's going to be the best option for that, because she's going to do ridiculous damage towards those enemies. So that's why I put DNS here. She's just future proof alone, from the stun immunity to being strong against iron, being just a very solid sustainable unit. Just she's overall just very good. Not as good as Privity, but I would say pretty close. I would say she's pretty close to Privity. Just she's more niche. Heron, just a good pilgrim overall. Nothing really to say. She's just not as good as Snow White, Modernity, or Scarlet, right? She's just another good pilgrim. We go to A tier here. Let's talk about Power and Lapras first. I think these two are pretty equal when it comes to hits. However, I do think Lapras has a probably slightly better ult than Power sometimes. It depends if the boss is the last alive. Power's ult will chunk that last boss alive, but you have more freedom with Lapras ult being that laser beam thing. So it's just kind of whatever you like. Volume is here because I like Volume overall. She's just a lot worse than Litter. She's more niche to herself with her S1. Her burst, or her S2, or skill 2 is very good overall. And then her skill 3 is just crit chance increase, which is like the only thing I don't really understand why they did it. She's good. She does improve your damage, because crit chance does technically give you more damage, but it's just more RNG than getting the guaranteed damage increase, right? If they just gave her a little bit more in her burst 3, that would be really, really awesome, because then I could probably put her higher. Like, she doesn't need to be SS tier, but I would love to drag her up one more tier, but they would have to buff her burst 3 to make it where that's possible. So hopefully in the future, they buff units in the future, give them touch-ups, notice that some units are lacking, and they, adjust them. That's really all I want, is Volume to get a burst or burst buff. It'd be awesome. Polly's still very good for a burst 2. Anything else in here that's I should talk about? I think everything speaks for itself. We'll almost wrap up the video with the burst with B tier. There's 2 units that I want to talk about in particular: Makima and Jackal. The reason why I didn't put Jackal in A or S tier, even though she can be argued there, is because she's got one niche. And so does Makima. Very good in PvP. That is where you can technically bring Makima in more places, but Jackal, for the most part, is just PvP. She's just a PvP unit, which is why I didn't put her any higher. She's so niche, and there's only 2 places you can bring her, which is Arena and the other Arena, like technically 3. That's just Arena, right? She only goes to Arena. That's the only place you bring Jackal. Makima, you can flex her early on in the early game, and to PvE content for Burst 2, just have an option, because there's not really many options for Burst 2. Obviously, if you have any other ones like Senti, Dala, Pepper, Rupee, for the most part, even Polly, like, you're just gonna bring those right over Makima, because Makima is a very selfish unit, right? She gets the invincibility thing for like 7 seconds, and she can get some lifesteal. She's not really supporting your team. And then I think the last thing I want, or actually there's gonna be 2 more games that I want to talk about: Biscuit and Sakura. Biscuit is here because I just feel like she's not very good. The defense buff is cool, but why bring her when there's better options for burst, for that burst slot, right? I just feel like she doesn't do enough to justify that survivability over just more damage, which is why I put her here. And then for the Sakura thing, I think Sakura just kind of sucks and is only semi-decent in like Train. You don't really need her for Train. She's just decent in Train. That's the only place I would recommend bringing her, is just Train, which is why I think she's just kind of bad. Everywhere else is kind of whatever. But that's just my opinion. If you like her, use her. It's up to you. I just think she kind of sucks. I think these 2 units are kind of L's. D was awesome design, because even though D is niche, she's very, very, very good in her niche, where these 2 are just kind of decent at their niche, right? They're just kind of whatever. You don't need them. With D, she'll make an impact, and Biscuit and Sakura, not so much. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I don't have Nilister in here because, 1, I don't have a way to access Nilister, and 2, I don't even know if most people have ways to access Nilister. Tier lists are very opinion-based, right? Before we do wrap up, though, I do want to give a shout out to the website here. If you guys would like to pick up some merchandise, be sure to check out the description below. I have some of my own stuff in here. Vader has some of his own stuff here. Be sure to go pick it up. We have pretty cool clothing in here. It does help us out if you do want to pick it up. I plan on picking up my own stuff in the future. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.